Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd just like to wish you all a warm welcome. Hope you've had a good week so far. Hope you're getting used to the cold mornings that are here. The winter will soon be upon us. Today, I'd just like to share with you some of my hobbies and the things that I like doing, and what motivates me to do these things. So, one of my hobbies is going to visit people in prison. I really enjoy it. I feel as though God has called me to go into the prison. There are many people in the prison that have lost hope. No one sets out in this life to end up in prison. You know, when you're a youngster or when you're little, you don't ever envisage that you will need to take drinks and drugs to be happy. I think it's quite widespread in the UK where unless you're drinking or taking drugs, you can't enjoy yourself. It's a shame, really. And drink and drugs are just a blight on society, if you ask me. A lot of times they don't bring no joy, they just bring problems. So when I go to prison, I see a lot of people in there that are having lots of problems, mental problems, withdrawal problems, that have, through their own fault, have ended up in prison through many crimes. But the reason why I go in there is because I think everybody deserves a second chance, regardless of what you've done. Don't get me wrong, some crimes are hard to justify a second chance. You know, some people have done some very terrible things. But me as a Christian, I think the reason why the world is the way it is because it's forsaken God. If we believed and understood that God was there and He records and watches the things that we do on a daily basis, and it's not about controlling or putting fear in people, but you know, when we know that our Creator's watching us, we'd probably be less inclined to be doing all the terrible crimes that you've seen committed. Obviously, schools and things like that have pushed God so far out the curriculum that you hardly hear of Him mentioned in schools. When I was in school years back, we used to sing hymns, we used to have prayers before we eat, before we'd have our lunch. So I genuinely think that through pushing God out of the picture, this is where we are in society. So normally I go into the prison and we do the service on Sunday. And I think that everybody deserves forgiveness. You know, the Bible tells us that for God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. So even though you've got people in prison that you may think don't deserve a second chance, I actually do think they deserve a second chance if they genuinely accept it and in their heart they make a change. Outward service is no good to God. We can pretend to change, but in reality, God knows if we've really changed. And sometimes we might say that, you know, that person's wicked, or, you know, God should have destroyed them because they've been absolutely terrible. But when it comes to looking at someone, what is right and what is wrong, for every human being, what might be right to someone might be wrong to somebody else. So to have a measure, I don't think we're capable of measuring what is right and what is wrong, especially when it comes to like what degree do you set the limit to say, right, that's it. So I believe God's got the measure, the Ten Commandments are the measure, and God's the one that should be measuring us all. So for me to say that He deserves to die because He's done such an act, well, someone might say that I deserve to die because I've done something that's probably less offensive. So I just want to share that with you today. I do go into prisons. I love going in there. We talk to the prisoners. We give them hope. We tell them about Jesus. And this is what Jesus says about going into the prison, because I suppose if I'd never read it in the Bible, I probably wouldn't even go in there. But being an ex-prisoner myself, I probably would have loved someone to come in and speak to me, especially when most of my family and friends have forsaken me. Many prisoners don't get visitors. So Jesus says this in Matthew 25. This is what He tells what He's going to do when He comes to finally take people back to heaven. And He says He's going to come and give rewards to people for the things they've done. And these are the things that He's going to reward people 4 for what they've done. It says, "The king shall say unto them on his right hand, Come ye, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food." So when we see people hungry and we give them food, in reality we're doing something for the Lord, whether we're Christians or not. And it says, "I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink." So there again, when we see people that are in need of food and water and we supply it, God's telling us we're doing service for him. Then it says, "I was a stranger, and you took me in." When we look after people that we've not necessarily had, we didn't have to look after them, and we've took them in and made them feel welcome, whatever the circumstances. Jesus says you've done it, in doing it to him, that man, you've done it for him. And then it says, "I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me." When we go to people, our parents, family, friends, and we visit them that are on their sick beds and not well, Jesus is saying, when you've done them things, it's like you've done them for me or to me. And then it says, "I was in prison, and you came to me. Then shall the righteous answer," because obviously when we get there, we'll be like, "Lord, in what way did we visit you and feed you and clothe you?" And Jesus says, every time you've done it to somebody on this earth, you've done it to me. So the more we do acts of charity and love towards people, Jesus is saying in reality we've done it to him. So to visit the prison is what Jesus calls us to do, because many people are in need of something better. And sometimes, most of the time, this world cannot provide the things that the soul is searching for, and that is forgiveness of sin and peace. Knowing that God will forgive you of your past and he will create a future for you. So my hobby is prison ministry. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Have a good day. Remember, the good Lord loves you. Whether it's you feeding someone on the street, whether it's you having hospitality, visiting someone sick or poor, when you've done it, just remember God's been looking, and God loves it when you do it. So be encouraged to continue to help people, look after them, whether you're a Christian or not, but preferably give your heart to Jesus, because he will help you do it. And my prayer is that whatever you do it all to the glory of God. Have a great day. Jesus loves you. Take care. Bye bye.